In the far future, there will be only war.
The chains are broken.
This will be a good hunt.
Through the dark veil of space-time.
This is Warp Chatter.
Stone and steel will speak.
Let's get this
All right. Welcome, everybody, once again back to the Eye of Terror Studios. This is the Warp Chatter podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game. That's a podcast about Warhammer 40,000, Horus Heresy lore, the game itself. It's by players, for players. And with us today, we've got a new player. Well, he's not a new player, but you're new as a guest. Lehman Russ 80 has joined us today. Welcome.
Hello there.
And of course, I've got the crab co-host Axel Manning.
Howdy, howdy, ho.
And I am your host, Scuff D, through this journey in the warp. Today we're going to be talking about a couple things. We're planning on talking about the first impressions of the Agents of the Sigillite. We kind of had a quick debate before we started recording on whether or not we should just talk solely about them, but I think we can try to make it work. And then our goal is to continue talking the Faction Spotlight series and talk about the Space Wolves. And that's why Lehman Russ is here, because he is, when it comes to the Discord and active Russ / Space Wolf experience players, I kind of gravitate towards Lehman Russ and his posts. So I extended the invite, and hopefully you'll just do this entire podcasting character. I'm still holding out hope for that. So
He's already disappointed the fans at home, telling us he doesn't wear a kilt every episode. So now we got to know. You got to give us something to work with.
I'm going to disappoint you even more. I don't even have a kilt.
oh no.
I feel like that's a crime. It's like us not wearing plaid up here in Canada.
Well, now Russ is out of Scotland, but Lehman Russ, the character, is off of Fenris, which is much more like Nordic Scandinavia based. But but at the same time, like, don't like half of them have like Scottish accents?
You say that, but the Sons of Horus have Scottish accents, so it's weird.
That's true. Abaddon has a pretty thick Scottish accent.
You've heard Abaddon's Scottish accent, Lehman?
I play it with the sound off now.
Oh, you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, it's...
Thanks to, have you ever played against Magnus Menopol or something?
Yeah. Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
That's a reason I have sound off. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows about that.
After playing him quite a few times.
Yeah, that's a good reason to mute a player.
Yes. I mean, at least it's a free win at the end of the day.
Usually. I played with the sound off for like 2 years, and I didn't hear what the emotes sound like, and then one day I was like, I'm just going to listen to all the emotes that are out. And I heard that. I heard Abaddon's Scottish accent, and it took me by surprise, and I laughed for like 5 minutes. It's not great. I think Giger Fellhand has a better accent when it comes to that. It doesn't sound as jarring.
I'll keep my sound off unless I'm playing a character that wears a helmet, because then I get the sexy Vox noise.
You get that Vox crackle.
Characters that wear a helmet, or Ingo Peck.
Yeah.
Because Ingo Peck has it for no reason.
His original art used to have a helmet.
Yeah,
well, Russ, normally what we do when we're doing the podcast is, give introductions. Like to hear who you are, what got you involved in the game. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, obviously by my name, Lehman Russ 80, I was born in 1980. So I have been playing, I actually started off playing fantasy from Games Workshop back in 1989. And I've been following Games Workshop stuff ever since, well, basically 1989. That's, as you can imagine, quite a few years.
More than one.
Yeah, playing it since you were 9 years old, huh? Wow.
Yep.
What did you start playing with? Like, what was your hook in?
Oh, it's Slanesh, obviously.
Not far. It was a woman that actually introduced me to it.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it was Hero Quest.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We could talk about Hero Quest. Yeah.
Then it was Games Workshop stuff, and then we done, I don't know if you'll remember it, the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the big green book.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We also done that. So, I mean, basically, I've been involved in the Games Workshop stuff, although it's called Warhammer now.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm still going to call it Games Workshop out of force of habit.
That's fair.
It makes sense. They got a bunch of different things. And I mean, when they call stuff like Space Hulk and Necromunda and stuff,
Yeah.
it gets muddied over what you call things at the end of the day.
So after a while, I got curious about Warhammer 40k because I used to see a lot of the guys playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And originally I wanted to be squat because I had a dwarf army. But
Rip Squats.
Squats Tyranid off screen. Yeah,
Rips got done. They got done dirty.
They got like a little lore excerpt. That's it. They're done.
yeah.
By the way, they died. Well, is what we got hit with.
You know, to be fair, there is I've read like at least 2 different books where there's a squat character, but and they're not like old, like they're like, you know,
Oh yeah, Squats are still around.
They're still around, but just as far as like an actual active force,
They're not.
no.
Rip Squats.
I mean, they says it was because they didn't really want they didn't fit into it, and it was just like space dwarfs, and I was like, well, yeah, that's what I wanted.
Right.
Basically, I have a space dwarf army, a dwarf army, 5,000 point army in fantasy.
Why wouldn't I want space dwarfs? Yeah.
But since I couldn't have them, I looked around, and because I had quite an aggressive dwarf army, I thought, okay, let's go with Space Wolves. These guys seem quite good, and that's how it started.
When did you pick
Go
up
for the other hairy drunken race?
Yeah, which was your first codex? Did you pick up the codex where it's just that one wolf like shooting the orc on the cover? Because that's like an iconic image, and I could see that like hooking you in with the frost axe.
I think it was.
Yeah, I could see that. That's that was very like, you know, there was just like some of the codex covers were like very like hook you in. You want to find out more about this faction or this army. Like for me, the Space Marine Codex was one of those. The Space Wolf Codex was pretty captivating, or just that cover art. And then I also like Codex Armageddon, like, which I know that's
Armageddon.
yeah. I mean that was just really cool with like the Steel Legion facing off against the Orc War Boss. It's just a really cool cover art.
They did try and get me to buy an Ultramarine Army. I was like, no thanks. They seem a little bit boring.
Come on, these guys have got wolf pelts and, you know, wolf claws and mohawks and beards and braids.
Yeah, they're not very original with their names, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some days I wish they kept the Space Wolves name in like their like copyrighted version of their name, the Vika Fenrica, because at least that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a little less wolfy at least. Now they're super wolf out. They're wolf hard.
Yeah, they're go hard in the wolf.
They're
thing.
like Teen Wolf, you know. They went from being Teen Wolf and like cool surfing on the van to Teen Wolf 2, and you're like, what? Why? There's no Michael J. Fox here.
Welcome to obscure references with Scuff, Lehman. Get used to it, because this is how we go.
This is how we roll, baby. Teen Wolf.
That's right.
Ah, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go much deeper, but there was a Teen Wolf cartoon, a Saturday morning cartoon for like a couple years. That was good times. Anyways. No, so how did you transition from, you know, 40K to the Horus Heresy Legions? Were you just looking for a card game or a video game, or what was it?
Well, I wanted a game that was Warhammer 40,000 based, and I think it was actually the Board of Prince that was playing it on a stream one night, and I thought, oh, okay, that was quite good. I'm going to try that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, and that's been me ever since.
Okay.
Kept you around.
Well,
Obviously, it's done something, right?
It's done. And for those who are listening, you told us at the start, before we started recording, how many games with Lehman Russ have you played?
10,711.
10,711 games with Lehman Russ. That's dedication.
That's not including the other Space Wolf Warlords, which I know you played at least more than. I think you have like 100 other games on the Fellhand. Maybe
On
more.
Weird Make, I have 142.
Mm-hmm.
On Gregor Fellhand, I have 226. On Bilvi, I have 3.
Three on Bulvi?
Wow, well, you can tell where you
You
picked
gotta
his
have
favorite.
the one. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, that's still,
But
collectively, that's
that
still
just
like 11,000 games of Space Wolves.
Collectively, that's more than I have in the game, I
That's
think.
crazy, man. That's awesome. That is awesome.
That's a man committed to his Space Wolves. And
I
I
think you'll be a good a subject matter expert, an SME, as it were, when we're talking about Space Wolves later today. So,
Surprisingly enough, Gregor Failhand's actually got my best win rate.
He's
Really?
a fun warlord. I wish he had more of a gimmick to him, like maybe a pack to gain 1 attack. It's something that could help him.
yeah, he was actually better than Russ when Russ first came out before they
Okay,
patched
when Russ first dropped, there's a lot of things better than Russ.
That's true. That's true. When Russ first, there was just disappointment when Russ first dropped. He did not have the pack can act again. He just had the gain +1 attack and Bloodthirst, which essentially would allow you to become Angron for a turn for 1 attack. That's really all it was. I think the pack making him pack obviously was much better improvement, but yeah, it made playing Fellhand or even Othar a better option, because it was what's the point? What's the point?
Old Russ was so bad. Were you around for old Russ, Neiman? Or did you only come in when Russ wasn't bad?
I didn't have Russ for a long time, so I might have been here, but I didn't have him.
Ah, that's fair.
Did you experience old Russ Umjad emotes, or just the Meowed?
Oh God, his old emote voice was so bad.
It was arguably the worst voice acting. They actually had to redo it, re-record it. I asked Ancient Parrot, who is a remembrancer on the Discord, to see if he was able to secure those old voice emotes, but unfortunately he does not.
They purged it from the code even.
They purged it, so there's no, unless you go back maybe to somebody who recorded old games and had those sounds on. But
oh, trust me, stuff. I went through all your old videos trying to find his old lines, and I couldn't.
I don't have.
They're gone.
I think I might have had one video where I did emotes, but I don't think I had the Umjot at that point. I think I had the Meowed when I actually listened to
has it.
Yeah.
Maybe your physics teacher?
He might.
Maybe Defnot has it.
Defnot might.
We can always ask him about it. Our Georgian teacher friend.
Yeah, we'll have to find out, see if we can get it, throw it up there. But yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was quickly.
Wow,
well, I can't see quickly. I mean, I think it took a couple months, maybe 3 months, before they finally recast and recorded it. So then we had the Calth expansion, and then those were pretty good emotes. And I think now the new resident worst emote voice actor is Ascalon.
Yep. I haven't heard the 3 new warlords of voice lines. So
I haven't heard. I've seen them, but I haven't actually listened to the audio yet. So we'll have to find out.
Yeah, visually they're great, but I haven't heard them.
Right. Yep.
I think it was around about the Calth expansion that I joined, so I would have missed it.
You might.
Hey, another guy who joined at the same time as me.
Yeah. We'll call. It
was a good time to get in.
Calth was a very good expansion to get into. I think even though the Word Bears have seen a couple patches, and the Ultramarines really have only seen some minor patches to cards, and the Orphans of War have seen some decent changes to a couple of their warlords. But I mean, it was a solid faction. You could get any one of those warlords could play. Neutrals were very good. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that expansion. I think Prospero.
Flawless expansion.
Yeah, Prospero was kind of a tricky gamut, just because of the Thousand Suns more than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thousand Suns were broken at launch. Space Wolves weren't exactly. Lehman wasn't great, so he had to get a little bit changed. And then Custodians
were not bad initially. It took a little while for people, I think, to kind of find the groove with them. But the problem is then they just didn't improve anything. They changed Shapura and Valdor in terms of reckoning and ability cost, but as far as their troops and their tactics, not really.
I think the Custodians are quite good as they are.
Yeah, they're definitely getting the power creep feel though, because there's other cards coming out that are just better than their Sentinel. I
think my biggest thing with Custodes right now, I mean, because don't be wrong, I played a bunch of Custodes during the Imperial Fist event, and they play just fine. And they do, but they are a one-trick pony. Essentially, it's the same deck with 3 different warlords. That's really what, and I don't like. I would like
3 because no one talks about Shapura.
Yeah, I like Shapura. I play him every now and then, but I play Kork more often than I play Shapura as a frontline warlord. But it's really Spear and the tactics and the flankers and the bikes, and then you save up for Mikkeler. And I just would like the faction itself to have a little bit more, like, 2 or 3 different play styles as opposed to just the same one play style. Although I know I've seen some people talk about like an Amon Tarmakian Desperate Defense build, but then that's just Desperate Defense. That's not really Custodes.
No, but I feel like we can burn that bridge eventually.
One day we're going to...
I'm pretty sure today we're talking about some Wolfie Birds.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Space Wolves. I think we're going to have to save Desperate Defense rants for some other time. Well, before we do, though, we can talk about the first impressions of the Agent of the Sigillite. Really quick, though, you mentioned getting into Games Workshop via Hero Quest. Axel, did you ever play Hero Quest?
No, I have not.
Oh, man, that was my get into for me. I didn't get into just mainly because of financial constraints, because it came out in '89 in the United States, Hero Quest, and I got into it, and I got the first 2 expansions. It was like a Christmas and birthday thing, and I was like, played with my friends, painted the figures. It was like, I did so much with that game for like 2-3 years. I made my own maps. And then the next, not necessarily next edition, but I think it was like Hero Quest Advance or Warhammer Quest, like what the next upgrade was essentially. And I just didn't have the allowance or the funds or whatever to really, scoop it up. And so I didn't. And then like the next year later, the stores weren't carrying it anymore. I think there was the Space Quest, which was the precursor to Space Hulk with the Space Marines. And that was interesting. But it wasn't really until later when I would go to the hobby shops for like D&D miniatures and see the Warhammer 40,000 and the Warhammer stuff, and then kind of see the same logo, put the pieces together like, oh, these orcs look just like the orcs in Hero Quest. Oh, it's the same company. Oh, there's a whole army game. Like you can play whole armies instead of just playing, a little board game. So did you see, Russ, I know we're not really talking about Legions just yet, but did you see last year that they have done the Kickstarter, Hasbro, to launch an updated version of Hero Quest? It's not Games Workshop affiliated, but it is the old game with remodeled models.
I didn't know. That sounds actually quite good.
Yeah, it looks good, and they try to be as true to the original game as possible. Like the board is the same, the spell cards and the models are roughly the same kind of poses, but they look much better. Obviously, I mean, we're talking almost 30 years. I mean, really, since that game came out. So there's some upgrades there in terms of what they look like.
Nice.
And it's pretty cool. Yeah, let me see if I can find. I'll link it to you in the chat as we're talking. But the Kickstarter went through and it got backed like immediately, and I think they're in some phase of production. The only downside, and there was some controversy or issues with it because it's Hasbro, and initially for like the first part of the Kickstarter was like just available to people in US and Canada. So like anybody in Europe, it's like, hello, it's Games Workshop. Like this, it originated. Like this is our. Why can't we?
Oh yeah, it came from the UK.
It was. There was a lot of people who were heated about it, so they eventually opened it up and then made it open to that. But then also a lot of people like myself, I kind of feel like you're Hasbro. Like, why are you kickstarting a project? Like, you're Hasbro. Just make it happen. Like, you don't need to get people funding you for this.
Oh yeah, they definitely have the funds for it.
Yeah, this game is gonna sell. Just do it. Like, So either which way, I mean, I'm gonna buy it when it comes out because I love the original. I still have the original in my garage, but the updated stuff looks good. So keep your eye out for that. And like I said, I'll send you the link. But that is a classic, and that's a really fun game for 4 to 5 players. Actually, I mean, you could do two players up, but I mean, having some friends over and everybody is their own character is pretty nice.
Sound fun. I have to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, with the festivities and non-Legion material talked about here, let's dive right in. We had the Agents of the Sigillite came out yesterday, and wow. I mean, like,
by the time you're hearing this,
yeah,
tomorrow we'll get reinforcements.
Right. Exactly. By the time this is out, the reinforcements are on their way, so you should be relatively over the shell shock. I think the first week of having spoilers,
the trauma should have been taken care of.
Yeah, a lot of people were already kind of kind of, dealing with the way the spoilers were looking and making direct comparisons to like, wow, this card is exactly the same as this card, but for much cheaper and does twice as much. Why is that the case? And now, now we've got the actual game is released, and as it turns out, some of that is even wackier and better. So I don't know what to say. I mean, except I want to talk about it. I want to get your guys' opinions. I have not to be fair, I have only played maybe a dozen games at this point with them, both in event and then just kind of trying out Iota and Rubio. And I did one game. I dueled Phil Carey one game with Malkador. We did a Malkador first draft. We just threw cards at each other. And it was stupid fun, but let's talk about the faction and how wacky it is.
Man, they are crazy.
What are your guys' thoughts? Just out the gate, let's just get into some of the stuff, like the cards, the abilities.
They have so much potential, yet are so reliant on RNG. You pretty much have to pray that guy is not drawing what he needs. Because I got DD'd at 4 energy, and I wanted to cry.
I'm not impressed, honestly.
Really?
Yep. I'm sitting looking at my battle log right now. I've played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have played against, within the last hour, I've played against Iota 5 times. Would you like to guess how many of them I've lost?
Well, if you're not impressed, I'm going to say 0.
0. But
now,
that's his Alpha Legion.
Well, I was going to say, what are you playing against them? So you're playing Alpha Legion. So there's something to go there now. And when you say Alpha Legion, are you doing Exodus?
Exodus.
Okay.
He is up in the top 50 of Exodus, which I must say, good on you. Exodus is fun.
Very nice.
The first AL Warlord I drew, and I played him for a bit. Not a good time.
Well, I shot myself in the foot, and I says to Orthanal, I'm going to try and stay within 100 points of you this season.
Oh.
Yes.
And Arsenal took that as a challenge, obviously.
Yeah.
Because he's French. That's what he does.
And currently, he is sitting roughly 300 above me at the moment.
So he's raised the bar. You've got 9 days, man. You better get on that.
Certainly.
Well, so you've faced Iota, and I've heard a lot of people say like Iota's, hot stuff. Iota's ability is, it's like it's a better Samus. Like there's no shaving about it. Like she's got 30 hit points as opposed to his 35, but her ability costs 1 less both times, and it does 1 extra damage on the damaging side. And she's also not limited to just her faction cards. She's got Mechanicum, Chaos, and Imperial Army neutrals.
Let's be real here. The Chaos guys got. I mean, Runestorm has Chaos as well. It's just.
It's not. It's Chaos.
You're not gonna leave out of your faction. Right?
Yeah, the Runestorm cards are better than the Chaos cards for the most part. I mean, it's impressive. Like it's a solid warlord for what she does for 30 hit points. I think they're the same initiative.
Well, I just want it to be said now, because at the current point in the way I play, I don't even include that many neutrals, because more often than not, when you're playing, you only really need what's in your faction.
Yeah, I honestly think, I mean, I know there are some builds that are the exception, but I think typically for me, like, I might have 5 or 6 neutrals. I just like the faction cards more, and especially when I'm trying a new faction out. Like with the Agents of Sigillite, the majority of the deck is the faction cards because I want to try them all and kind of see which ones I like more than others for certain plays. I'm playing Iota in the event, and event experience is going to be completely different, so I'm not really even going to weigh that the same. But I play Rubio a lot more out of all the games I have played, and I find him to be a lot more flexible and better, like not necessarily relying on seals. Like the whole seals thing is, I mean, don't get me wrong, seals is their main gimmick, and they've got some powerful seals. They've got a couple that are like, it's situational, right? Like the return a trip to your hand.
Yeah, well, I mean that's useful because you can use it on the enemy at least.
At the very least, right? It's kind of like a Melgator without any drawback. But then there's the deal all 3 and jam, which is kind of their anti-stealth. Like that's the only anti-stealth card that they've got is a seal that they can't include in their deck and that they have to draw and create randomly. They don't have hard removal direct. They've got to use a tactic to get rid of it, which is very similar to other factions that have had very powerful cards like Orphans of War or Synergies, but then they kind of get scaled down that way. But they also don't have any flanking. So I find that interesting. I was surprised by the number of frontline troops that they've got. Was the Iota troops that you're facing, Russ, the ones that you're facing, are they like just keeler builds, or were they just like throwing stuff at you? Was there some sort of common thread?
It's do you know the player beside?
Yeah.
Beside, it's him. I was facing him.
Oh, over and over again. Oh.
Well, most of the time, but I mean, he's not an inexperienced player, so
He's just throwing stuff out there at you.
well,
a lot of people
what
need
he
to
was
find their
doing
ground with AOS.
was a combination of Sane, Euphrates Killer, the Sane, and
Oh, giving him
using the front line, but against Alpha Legion, it has virtually no effect.
Right. Yeah, and also to go with that, like if you're okay, you spend energy and time buffing up things that you should be attacking with. So yeah, so what I've found so far, there's probably like a couple cards. Well, there's a lot of cards I like, but like a couple key cards I think for turns, because I don't have all the legendaries. I'm missing 3 of the legendaries, one of which is the 2-cost Kalidas Assassin. But I find that the 3 energy Epic Assassin, the Vanus Assassin, that does like you pick a card, if your opponent plays it, it deals 5 damage. That plus the next turn playing the 4 energy, chosen of the Sigillite to make that troop a +3/+3 with Survivor too. That's a pretty strong play to come out the gate. It's got its counters. It's 3 health and a stealth, and it's not turn 1, but that's a decent way to start, I find.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Good.
But the front line and where is he?
I love how they got the 5 of the 6 Assassin Temples in there, though. I'm actually surprised they put the Vanus in there.
I was glad to see the Vanus, actually. I was like, awesome, they got it.
I'm surprised we didn't get the Poison Assassins.
If you can get the front line down with a Bodvar, you've got a very solid defense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Because obviously he's a space wolf. It looks of the artwork anyway.
And he's got ward. And
Yep.
Yeah. The number of frontline is high, and I know one card that has kind of got a lot of people, at least day one, knee-jerk reactions is Keeler, Euphrates Keeler, giving frontline to adjacent units, which can include the Warlord, and then she pays that 1 energy and she buffs your entire board, and that is a powerful card. And she's got her counters to her. I do think personally, I think that she should not buff herself. She should just buff your other troops. I don't have any problem, though, with her giving the Warlord frontline because, number one, that's not a set thing. Like, your opponent has to make the choice to not play other units in between the two of them. And if their Warlords are frontline, then you just hit the Warlord. And at the same time, she's got 4 health, and you can plan and prep for it if you throw out, like, whether it's Seek and Destroy or Flanking Unstoppable, or some other way to kind of hit her once or twice, as long as she's not buffing herself. But if she's buffing herself, that's what makes it hard. But that is one way to go with her, I think, is very quickly she can spiral out of control, and you've got 5/5, 7/7 troops that with ward or stealth and frontline protecting half of them.
Well, it depends. I mean, for example, everyone has access to breach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's 5 damage, and as long as you're getting rid of the front line straight away, you can kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're a Space Wolf player, just make sure you've got 2 Emperor's Executioners in your deck, and you'll get rid of her.
Just one shot bullet killer. There's those tactics that deal 4 damage. Octo, Emperor's Executioners, Chariot of the Gods,
Lambda Thunderhawk.
Or if you're Alpha Legion, just make sure you've got everybody uses the Lambda Thunderhawks anyway, so just take it out with that.
For me, I've just been stacking it up with what's the term I'm looking for? Alpha Legion Secret Orders. They're not going to kill it.
Yeah.
I'll just keep putting on, kill the next troop you put in play. Essentially,
that's a
deal 3
mistake.
damage
Putting out all those infantry and Astartes against the Secret Orders Alpha Legion. Like, I love decks like that because, like, okay, I'm just going to load her up every turn. She's going to stun stuff, or she's going to kill what you drop, and then when you buff her up, she's going to get the instrument on her.
Yep.
It's more fun to do
And
that.
surprisingly enough, most people don't play a round instrument, which is nice.
Yeah, like I mean, it's a play. I don't know if maybe they just forget about it, but like I always have that in mind. Once I'm at 6 energy on, if I have 2 troops down, or if I'm going to put down a bigger troop, I have to be like, okay, either I'm going to take this to the face, or I want to have a body, even if it's got like 1 or 2 health left. I want to have something that my opponent has to take care of before he can play the instrument.
Yeah, which is fair because the instrument has ruined my day many times, and I've ruined many days with it simply because someone drops like a Slayer of Worlds right beside them,
Ooh, that's the
and
best.
I just turn it on them.
That's the best.
We all play Alpha Legion in our fun free time because it's fun, so we all know
That's
the
right.
entertainment.
Well, and speaking of Alpha Legion, go ahead.
Even as a Space Wolf player, I mean, if you've got at least 2 Ragnaroks in your deck, it might be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, you know, speaking of Alpha Legion, making that comparison, because I feel like this faction, the Agents of the Sigillite, are very Alpha Legion / Orphans of War in their approach.
I feel like they're Orphans of War mixed with a good amount of DA. Because while they don't have quests, a lot of the times the way you get a seal is like completing a quest.
Yeah, that's true.
Get a troop for 4 damage, and if it dies, you gain the seal. Use
Right.
a rally and gain a seal if it targets. They're not like just you gain it when you play this troop. No, there's condition. There are a few that are, such as the I think it's 9 energy. I think it's a 9/10 structure. That just resolution.
Right, creates
Add
a
a
seal
seal
and
to your deck, draw a
draw a
card.
card. Yeah, yeah.
That is, by the way, I played it and it drew the seal it produced the first time. Therefore, I love that card, and that's my logic on it.
I'm surprised it doesn't have frontline, to be honest with you, for 9 energy.
Oh man! But it would also, that'd be such a good card.
Yeah, that would be too much. It would have to have.
Oh no,
attack.
I'd still be fine for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be meld. Give it 5.
No, that's a requirement. If it's a high cost structure, it has to, with frontline. It has to have.
It has to be melgable.
That's right.
Melgator has to be able to convince the building to uproot itself and leave.
He comes into the system and he's like, "No, why did you build this here? Get it out of here."
This is against building code. Go home.
He's like a seedy contractor, you know. It's like, what's going on with this? Like, come on, get it out of here.
I love Melg. God, I hate Melg. He ruins so much fun I have. Theros. Nope.
Pharaoh's command bunker, the first wall. They're all
Hidden War. It seems to be one of the more useful cards that they have.
Which one?
Yeah.
Hidden War.
Oh yeah, Hidden War.
Oh yeah.
The reduced. Wait, Hidden War is the reduced enemy troop to 1 HP, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, that works very well with Rubio, which
Yes.
might I add is one of my favorite warlords we've had in a while because he's a very fun, I guess, deviation to the classical give yourself bonus attack at the warlords, which we've seen a lot of.
I like his ability to create that, and it works so well for different things. Like, first off, you can bank it up, and you can have like 3 or 4 of them, and make him a monster at the end of the game. Or you can get 4 attack to clear something on your next turn and get your battle honor trigger. But it also works with like Relic of Old Knight. Like, you can shuffle one of those extra ones in without sacking anything else in your hand to draw 2 cards. I like him. Like I said, I think I've had more fun with him. He's kind of straightforward. He's not too wonky or crazy. I think Malkador himself is a trickier thing to figure out, I think, for a while right now for me.
Oh, here's what you do as Malkador. You grab Relic of the Old Knight, you send his Reckoning back to the deck, and boom, easy.
Okay, yeah?
You can do that. You can do that. I don't know why you would, but you could.
You could. I mean, at that point, like, because I thought about it too. Like, his reckoning is like -2 when you play a seal, and you have to play it.
But realistically, a seal is like a finisher style card. So
you have to
play
play
that point.
3 seals to get to that point to play it at 10. If you played 3 seals, you should have won the game. Like, I don't know.
He's definitely a win more type warlord.
Yeah. At least as far as his reckoning goes.
Yeah.
His ability itself is like,
conditional as all hell.
If anything, I guess just to make your opponent second guess everything that they do, you know?
I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, sure, Malkador, have the seal. I don't care. You're probably not going to draw
I
it.
think that's the best way to do it. Like, just ignore whatever he's doing and just play your game, you know? If he gets a seal, he gets a seal. No, it shouldn't hold you back.
I'm not 100% sure yet, but from what I noticed, seals seem to push traps down the line.
You know, I wouldn't doubt EG making seals have a higher priority over traps just to fuck over Alpha Legion a bit. Then again, it's not like Alpha Legion traps are even that good in the long run, so it's like, all right, I guess you can do that EG.
It is something you play in the dead turns, but
Yeah, it's not people who build their deck around traps will get those wins. At 1 win out of every 10 matches, they'll make them feel good enough to keep doing it. They're not truly experiencing Alpha Legion, at least until they have an Ingo Pack Secret Order deck.
Hashtag don't play traps. Just don't.
Hashtag don't do it to yourself.
Just don't do it to yourself.
I don't know. Traps are quite good when you've got the Hydra.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can make it work.
The rhino.
No. The
Hydra's Eyes.
serpent. Is it serpent? The serpent squad.
Oh, the squad that like pumps up every time you play a trap or they draw a trap.
Another good one is Ghost Legionary, and they
Yeah.
draw 3 Seeds of Betrayal in a row. So
Right.
now he's
That becomes a
boosted by
monster.
9. Yeah, that enough is like, all right, you might as well just hit resign if you can't delete them.
I appreciate
only gonna get
when
worse.
I face a quality Alpha Legion player who actually like plays those clever troops or plays more of the stun and setup game, because it's very reminiscent of Secret Order's plays, and it's a smarter play as opposed to just I make a trap, I put a trap, I make a trap, I put a trap, I make 5 traps, I put 5 traps. I cross my fingers every time you start your turn. Like I just I like the fact with the seals, it's on your terms, it's on your deck, it's on your end. Like it does water down your chances of drawing something else, but at the same time, you're not gonna
You'll want to
cringe.
steal over something else.
Yeah.
I want to see Agents of the Sigillite. I have not put any money into this game so far. I have several completed collections, and I'm quite proud of that. I may finally put money into this game just to grab a couple of their cards because I actually kind of want to see how they work.
It's
I
don't
really
think
want to
it's
give
worth
them.
it, to be honest. Just play the event.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm a man who doesn't have much time to play the game anymore, so I think I can cop out a couple dollars just to have at least to grab Rubio's deck that he's going to get.
If you're going to pick anything, I'd go with Sisters of Silence.
You see, I'm just not a fan of their playstyle. I know there's some crazies out there who will devote their lives to them, like a certain Quebecois man we've had on the podcast before, but I can't just do that to myself.
Yeah, I had the gold. I still got gold left over, but I was like, I'm going in for, the Primarch Malkador when they come out. And
then you got him really early, I heard.
no, I got Sword of Truth, and then I got a second Sword of Truth.
Oh, no, I know someone else who got Malkador within their first 25 crates of the faction.
No, it took me a while, but I did get Malkador, and then I got I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for one more legendary, and I got the one that gives a survivor 8, and I was like, that's like the worst one to get. I was like, okay, well, that's signal. I'm fine. I'll bow it. But by that point, I have got everything 2 times over, except for 1 copy of Macer Varen and the Cerberus, the Imshan, and then the Precognition legendary. So I'm only missing really 3 legendaries. I mean,
that precog one's pretty good.
Yeah, as much as I'd like the precog and Imshan to play with, I got enough to play with, and I'm doing pretty fun with them, and I'm having a good time.
That's good.
But
I just want to mention this quick. You know the Thousand Sun one that play a tactic, deal 1 wide?
yes,
It synergizes with the Destroy a Troop damage card.
it does, and I don't know if they've changed it yet. We've reported that bug yesterday when we found that out, because
I
it was
want to believe that's not a bug.
No, it's
I want to believe EG did that and went, this is fine.
It's a bug because that card is supposed to do Destroy a Troop that's damaged in combat, kind of like the Death Sworn of the Space Wolves.
But then again, that card doesn't trigger Battle Honor, so who knows with that card?
Well, it also like if Doombringer or Helios Mortar Carrier have that on them, it will destroy whatever they hit. So it's not supposed to work that way.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe EG just completely
I'm just
messed
telling
up.
you, like, expect that to be fixed if it hasn't been fixed today.
I'm holding out hope that that's intentional and we can be confused till the end of days and why EG would do that.
There are new players being confused every day by this game.
Really tragic crime. I feel like we've talked enough about confused.
No,
You're confused, Lehman?
Lehman, with your take on the Agents of the Sigillite, day 1, you're not too impressed. And that's
no.
Okay. All right. That's fair. What about you,
That's fair.
Axel? Are you just going off what you
I am
heard?
pleasantly surprised they turned out, and I'm happy they're not just knight errants. They have some assassins in there. They have some just administrative people. It's cool that they did something different, and I'm excited to see how they turn out in the long run.
Okay. My first impressions are they're fun. I like them. They have got some power to them, but I will say that I think that I understand the knee-jerk reactions.
The minute everyone read the seals and went, wait, I can put this in my hand, people didn't read the fine print that says it's really only going to ever show up in your deck.
Right. And I think there's obviously some issues with some of the cards working right or timing, and obviously they changed a few things from spoiler to reveal, like the legendary.
That Mishan rechange was.
Yes.
I don't know how to feel, because before she would only have stealth a turn, and now it's not going away, and it's upsetting.
Now she has it, so you've got to deal with it. Her going back into it. There's ways to get past it, but it takes a lot.
I just send her into a warp rift every time she starts to annoy me. That's fine in the end of the day.
I just don't have the same feeling of like, wow, this is busted, that I did with Knight's Household with the second energy resource, or like, wow, I am winning games by huge margins when I clearly should not. Like, I'm not getting that. And I know I've seen people who've shared images of, like, turn tube, Imshan, high rolling. Well, change your playstyle. There's a new faction in the game.
No, if your DD deck suddenly stops working, it's not time to start complaining. You're getting what you deserve.
You should have seen the spoiler of this troop who kills DD and makes you regret playing those cards. Change your deck, change the way you play for a while. Play Burn, and that'll work just fine. Play Mandragorax, play Red Loss, play Zardulayak. There's warlords who can throw out heat on those stealth units right from the get-go. Kinza is a random thing, but guess what? He can still work just the same. There's a lot of ways to go about it. I think people just, you get comfortable, and it's a new faction, there's a new expansion, you should be comfortable. That's the way of the game. But, like I said, I'm not feeling these guys are, like, have the same power level where, like, man, I'm blowing out opponents left and right. I think they're fine. I think they're okay. I do think that there are a couple cards that should see a rework, but it's not game breaking.
I had a couple people who said they quit the game after seeing Cerberus. And I'm like, really? If Cerberus made you quit the game, what's your opinion on the rest of them? Cerberus isn't even that great. Like, he's good.
He's good. But
you have to play a really hard card. He has to have already died.
Mm-hmm.
And all it is you're just dropping a body on the board.
You get him back. Like, you can stun him. You can give him can't attack. You can keep him locked down to 1 health and not kill him. Like, there's ways to get around it. Or if your opponent hasn't created any seals,
he's useless. He's just a body.
He's just a big fat guy. So, well, not fat, but I mean, he's beefy.
His stats are pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like a nice curve. He's a curvy boy.
He's a curvy boy. Curvy boy. All right. Well, I think just in terms of getting everybody's impressions, I know, Russ, you're probably salivating at the mouth now to jump in and talk about the subject.
Your boys.
The Space Wolves. So I'm going to let you have the floor. And what is the main things, whether it's lore or cards, or even like how the cards kind of reflect the lore? What do you like about the Space Wolves?
Mostly the aggression.
Oh yeah.
Although they are
very aggressive.
They are technical. I mean,
they're the only aggro that at the end of the day, if I die by, I'm like, all right, he had to at least do some mental math at the end of the day, so I don't feel too bad of losing to it. Because an Angron is just, I go face. But Lehman, it's like, all right, let's add this up and not kill myself in the process.
Right. Man, yeah, that's true. Like a Russ game, like there's always 1 or 2 turns where you have to tally up the right timing and like, okay, that's 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2.
I beat Lehman as an Ingo Peck today because I broke his math with a secret order. I felt bad because it cleared out one of his flankers that dropped, and then he just kind of resigned. Like that was the one thing he needed to go off the win.
That's what he was banking on, baby.
The one thing that I've always been bothered about is Lehman Russ's reckoning beat costing 1, which is why sometimes you'll see a Lehman Russ player sort of hammering you, and then suddenly stopping and going,
no, I ran out of energy.
That one energy.
I don't have the energy to play this. No.
Man. If it was 0, you would actually see a lot more clutch Lehman plays. At this point, it should be 0, because you're getting yourself and your opponent into a scenario where you've already pretty much claimed victory.
It is much more like a finishing blow. Like if you've got one pack left, right? If you've triggered pack before you play it, that's usually enough to swing it, But I've never used. I'll be honest. I've never used his Reckoning, and I played him for like 2 seasons straight. Not last year, the year before, and I never used his Reckoning to stay alive, like just to eke out and let my it was like, this is the coup de grace, this is the finishing blow. Like if anything, it was the one extra attack that the opponent wasn't banking on me having. It was never anything like, oh man, if I can just stay alive and give myself ward for a turn, I'll be safe.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's very useful against Perturabo and against
Yeah, I could see that.
Anything to hide from Pert is nice. God, is he oppressive. When I used to play Argyle Hall.
His whole hand of cards, he's just like, oh, I guess I won't play any of these now. Dang it.
I'll hit you with a viral bomb this turn and wait, I guess. Yeah, Pert.
I mean,
what I like about the Space Wolves... go ahead.
Some of the Space Wolves cards could use a rework. Like
the
Rogue Guard.
Yeah, a lot of their late drops would, like, Corpse Swan, for example.
Never used it.
Yeah, I don't see the reason to. Yeah. It's too late in the game to be good for Lehman. The other ones don't really synergize with it. It just exists.
You don't use it in like a desperate defense Space Wolves? Come on.
I actually have 2 of those decks.
Hey, if it wins you games at the end of the day, right?
Hey.
Oh, there's one of them I would never play in ranked. It's just a Lehman Russ desperate defense.
Just to have and hold?
I thought I would try it for fun.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't work. No.
There's
a warlord that benefits the most from his early game, losing his early game.
He loses his entire game up until like 10 energy, maybe 8 if you're lucky.
Huh.
I'm
not surprised it doesn't work well.
That's not a good way to go.
Well, I actually play a mid-ranged Russ. When I'm playing Lehman Russ, it's a mid-ranged one that I use.
I think he is mid-range. I think that's the thing. Like he's aggressive, but and his games can go fast. But if you play him smart, he can respond and he can help build. And if
you have 2 troops that stick to board by the time you place that 5e legendary, or is it 4e Baelai, you win the game.
Yeah, you're setting up for the turn, but the turn doesn't have to come at 4 energy. It could come at 8 energy as long as you've kept the board clear and dealt with threats appropriately.
Who is their Dreadnought they have that gains attack as well? I really like that guy.
Oh, the Warded Pack Dreadnought?
Yeah. Doesn't he have frontline as well? He's a cool cat.
He doesn't have frontline, but
doesn't he?
I will show you.
I haven't played him in a bit.
I will post this in the chat. This is what I use, and this generally gets me about 4.2 to 4.3 thousand a season.
It's a nice enough stuff. Let's see it. I like Lehman. He's fun. Space Wolves are one of the few Loyalist chapters I actually enjoy. Legions as well. In case you didn't know, Lehman, I am a very, very pro trader. So take that as you will. I like them. They're fun. Ooh. Yeah, that's about what I expected. I like the inclusion of Jubok. Jubok's a good boy.
Jubok's I use. I mean, Alpha Legion's the only deck that I don't use Jubok in because I don't need them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just like Jubok because it's like, oh, here's an extra card for me. I don't mind. And it's one of my opponents.
You never know what you can make work with that, sometimes.
Yeah.
Interesting, you've only got one of the hunters, the Cobran hunters. Usually run 2. But still, not bad.
Well, if a Nasir Scout sticks to board, who needs them?
Well, with Russ especially, you've got 2 breaches in this deck, and you got a lot of the key cards in terms of getting out the fast, the flanks, and
folks at home, listen closely, and you may be able to rebuild this build just from our words alone.
Yeah, I won't spell it all out, but you've got the key cards in there. There's a couple one-ofs that I would think like you'd want 2 of, but I understand. I think some of that just being shaped by the meta more than anything, like what you've been facing.
I've already put this deck in Reddit. You can.
Is it out there? Is it on Reddit?
Yeah, it's on Reddit.
It's on Reddit, folks. So check out Lehman Russ's Lehman Russ. It's called. The deck is named Woof.
Yes,
as it should be.
Yes,
it's not a woo.
And I think I also made a video about this deck on my channel.
Oh, that's right. Hey, we'll have to when we get to plugs. You'll have to talk about your channel. And I know you were also at some point. Are you still working on, like, weren't you working on like a site to build deck lists and share
Yeah,
deck
I've heard
lists?
about that.
I am still working on that. I was
That'd be an
figuring
asset
out,
the community
I
really
was-
needs.
figuring out self-hosting first,
Okay.
which I have now done. So I'm sitting
good.
writing code again to get it done, but I'm not entirely sure. I've been talking to the guys in Masterclass, and I think I'm going to have a login system so that people can log in and save all the decks that they want, and a way to keep stats. So, for example, if you want to keep track of your percentages, you would just add, like, say, I won 10 this game and I won 10 games and I lost 5, and it will just give you a percentage of how many you've won and lost.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Your win
That's,
percentage.
And that
that's
would-
definitely a tool the community would benefit from a lot.
Yes, yeah. Would that be player entered? Like, as far as like you could just go in, like, I know that
Yeah.
I played this deck 20 games before I made changes to it, and out of
Yeah.
those 20, this is what it was.
I assume that's how it'll work.
Yeah, that's essentially what it will be.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll be
cool,
great.
man.
I'll definitely pop in to see that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Well,
I like that.
the Legion systems for numbers isn't exactly useful.
No, like,
Like,
once-
well, those
yeah.
are all the games I played.
It's
But
all
when
the
I
games
started
that
that
you
character,
played.
but when I started that character, I wasn't really good with him. So those numbers would probably be more realistic to look at this. For example, looking at my Argyle Tall, my win rate wasn't good at the beginning. Why? Because he's the first warlord I really played.
Well, and it includes the same thing, like if you build a challenge deck version with a
Yeah.
warlord and you just play, or you're playing memes or whatever the case is. Yeah, it's nice to kind of break it down. Like, this is this deck specifically, these 30 cards. This is what I did with it at this period of time. So, and like you said, like having that ability maybe to have people log in and save, just to save it, whether it's to share or just for their own records at some point down the road. That's always cool. It's a good tool. If you need, we get to plugs. If you need anything more to talk about it or hype it up, we can definitely dive into it.
Hopefully it'll be finished by the end of this month. I have to go and get the new cards from the website,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
which will be fun.
That will be fun.
I'll just download them. I have tools that can just basically strip a website and take everything off it.
Wow.
So that's what you do.
That's
Their website hasn't updated the
No.
Imperial Iron Hands yet, which is weird.
their
The Iron Hands are still pre-buff.
their website. I think they still had some messages in their banner scrolling across about the Calth expansion. So it's not the most up to date website. I think they're more.
I still use it.
Yeah, I think they update their Facebook
like, I'm looking at it
account
right
more than
now.
anything else.
I use it right now for the podcast, just so I know the cards we're looking at. Which,
Aha.
if we're talking about some staples for Space Wolves, we may as well cover some early games things. Like, they have those flankers. Everyone knows them at this point. The Colbell Hunters.
Yep.
Colbert Hunters. Those guys are good.
I don't think anyone can really say they're not.
No,
They're 2/3 flank.
they
They're
serve
gonna,
the purpose.
if you're playing Rust, they're giving you some pack. That's always nice.
Yeah, and you've
I mean, they're
obviously.
okay, but I don't really use them as much anymore.
Oh, yeah?
But what I would say is the Aldram Hunters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aldram Hunters and Russ especially, that is a win con.
Oh, yeah. That is...
Effectively, you need 2 of them in your deck.
Yeah.
I had 2 of them placed against me once, and I wasn't able to clear either of them for several turns, so I just lost.
Yeah.
I wasn't drawing anything I could, and every time I was hitting it, it was healing because it used its counterattack on it. So I just went, all right, I understand. I'm just going to go home now. I just resigned on it.
But
Sometimes
what
Lehman Russ can
I
get
would
lucky.
say is, I don't know how many people listen that are just starting off as Lehman Russ, or how many people that are listening who think they know how to play Lehman Russ. But a few things to keep in mind is Lehman Russ can buff himself. So if you see, for example, a ghost at the start of a game, and you have Wolf Claw, and you have 4 energy, buff yourself once and hit the ghost, it will kill it, and it takes it out of the game straight away. Now, the amount of people I've played against that have used Wolf Claw and hit ghost twice, you're effectively, well,
Doubling
losing
the
game
damage
to
you take.
yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people just do that. Yeah, some people just look at that and they won't do the proper math in their head and they'll just hit it. I've also seen people who rely on Lehman Russ's ability too much, where it's like, you could have just killed me if you would have just hit face a couple times and hurt yourself a bit, but you just keep buffing yourself to hitting for the 6 damage instead of the 12. So, there's ways to play Lehman.
That's the
If
thing.
anyone here knows how to play Lehman, though, it's Lehman Russ.
Right. No, and I think that's
Yeah,
that's
well.
the point, because like it's those little nuances with Lehman Russ especially, where we're talking with the math, it's not just a matter of like, okay, I can do 3 attacks and I can get 3 flanking out, and then that's like, it's those nuances of like, but if I buff my attack once, I'm taking less damage for each attack I hit. I'm doing more damage because I'm doing more than I'm taking. I might have 1 less attack, but I'm doing 3 to 4 extra damage, and the gap's widening. Or the other way around, you're just like, okay, these little pings. I mean, like, it is much more of a thinking strategy than just drop troops, go face. You know, like hope to survive, hope your opponent doesn't play flank, or, you know, you've got a ward troop out. It is much more, okay, what threat do I have to deal with to get to there? It is
the thinking man's aggro.
It really is. And there have been a lot of turns with Russ. I mean, you've played him, obviously. You know, we're talking 10,000 games. How many games, or how often, I should say, how often do you find yourself running the clock pretty low, calculating lethal, or calculating your turn execution?
Well, honestly, I would say...
I feel like he's gotten a lot better at it as he's gone on.
I would hope so.
For example, depending on what's on the board, anything from, I would say, about 22 health, it can be lethal. Mm-hmm. That's lethal range for Lehman Russ.
If you've got the right cards in hand and on board.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Lehman Russ can do some crazy things, especially if he has Baelai on the table, which may be one of the best legendaries in the game when it comes to like pre-5, like 5 energy and below, simply because of its potential it has.
Actually, it's good, but I mean, Jordan Stalker Squad, one of Lehman Russ's, one of the Spacewolf's best cards by far.
Do you feel that card got better with the counterattack?
Oh yeah,
I feel like it did.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because you get a lot more extended life for it. Obviously, you're going to get at least 1 extra attack from it. The counterattack's not given, but I find in matchups where they've got the counterattack that troop is much more has a bigger impact on the game than it used to. Before it was like, okay, I'm going to take 6 plus whatever else he's going to follow up with, and now you're like, okay, I might take 6, I might take 9, or he can still just deal with whatever I throw down on my next turn. So that really makes a big difference with that troop.
Oh, yeah.
And if you add Curse of Wolfen on top of it, you'll do 16 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. You throw a Curse of Wolfen on him. Hell, if you can drop this thing that does pack Adrian Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many setups you can do as Lehman where it's just like, all right, stop hitting me for a second, please.
Yeah, it's like, that's it. Good game. Thank you. Make it quick.
Yeah, basically, I mean, if you have Jordan's Talker Squad and Curse of Wolfen, you will do 16 damage by turn
3?
By energy 4.
Right, yeah.
Hey, at least you can't complain that Lehman draws the game down too long.
No, the games can be fast, you know, and they can turn just as fast, but they're fast games.
He'll make sure your match is quick, one way or another.
Obviously we could talk about Lehman, you know, and we will, I think, on and off, but the other 3 warlords you mentioned, we've got Giger Fellhand, we've got Bolvi, we've got Othar Weirdmake, all kind of serve different roles. Russ being your preferred, who would you say, I know you played more games with Giger, is Giger your second of choice?
No, sir.
Weirdmake? Yeah.
He is the second strongest currently.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Because you can basically set him up as a desperate defense deck if you want.
For 30 HP, that's especially weird to think about, but his ability, just giving him more HP, can essentially change the entire battle. Plus, giving ward on, say, the 3-4, the Bloodthirst one, whose name always escapes me that we just talked about, can be enough to ruin anyone's day.
Well, they get the extra health, they get ward, but he also has got that heal 1 at the end of the turn to a unit, which could be himself or could be another troop. He can go miles, but I mean, late game against, you know, like, especially if you're playing like knights or somebody who's got a targeted effect, you're like, nah, this guy's got ward, you're not going to shoot it, you're not going to throw down whatever tactic you want. Like, no, there's no hard removal. It really helps shape the board.
Play on my terms.
Yeah, I agree. I think Othar is a very solid warlord. I like him more. Sadly, Bolvi is, when his ability got changed, it got changed too hard. I understand why they did it, because he had that board-wide buff for very easy early on. And sadly, he doesn't have that anymore. But I like Othar a lot.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, like he says, he is probably the second strongest at the moment.
Yeah, the space.
Grigor being the lowest, in my opinion. He's fun, but
I think the thing I liked about the Space Wolves too, like lore-wise, because they are aggressive. They are berserkers and
Space Vikings.
And Space Vikings and the Emperor's Executioners. But the Wolf King, the book that Dan Abnett wrote it, and that book itself was delayed a little bit because Abnett had some health issues to finish it.
Yeah.
But it told the whole Battle of Prospero and the things that led up to Prospero from the Space Wolf side of things. But it also did a very good job, I thought, of showing you what the 31st Millennium Space Wolves looked like. Their hierarchy, their inner workings, and then also just like there was one scene in particular where the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns were doing a joint operation on a planet, is when they kind of came to blows. But before they came to blows, the Space Wolves are infiltrating this planet that's got this technology, and as they're fighting, they're taking the weapons from their enemies and using them to beat their enemies with, because the rationale is if they built armor, if they've created their own armor, they've created weapons to break that armor. Like that's the whole point of this society's like weaponry. Like if you have a gun and then the planet that you're on is going to make armor that is either going to prevent that gun or the gun is designed to break your armor. Like that's the whole, why wouldn't we use this as opposed to our own weaponry, which may not be as effective? And it was that very keen kind of like cunning thought process there to show like, there's a lot of blowhard, there's a lot of bravado.
People laugh at the Space Wolves for being the dumb Legion, but I think they're just like, it's mentioned a few times that Lehman is doing it, but I feel like the Legion is doing it especially good at faking dumb to be underestimated.
Right.
They're a lot brighter than you think.
I think it is the Space Wolves themselves are completely fine with appearing to be uncouth and barbaric, and that doesn't bother them because their art of war and their preferences, it makes sense to them, and they're sharp and like they know what they're good at. Like you may not like the way they do it or the way they talk or the way they look, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, the easiest comparison to make is with the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For example, the Lion is basically a knight, but realistically inside he's a savage. Whereas Lehman Russ has the external appearance of a savage, but it's actually more of a sort of knight.
Yeah, I
he's more intelligent.
I don't know where I've heard that before, but I've heard people make that comparison before because that is true. That's exactly it, and it's on both of those sides. It's a show, like at the end of the day, like when Lionel Johnson gets unrestrained, he's brutal. He's a savage.
He bitch slapped Namil's head off.
He just is like, don't cross him. Whereas Russ, like, there's it looks that way, and he can be vicious, but at the same time, like his keen, the way he's sizing up your opponent, and trying to throw off, make you think like, yeah, that's my swagger, like that's not really who I am. But while you're thinking that, I'm actually eyeing you up with the air. I'm just reading Wolfsbane right now, and it's not probably about like a third into it, but there's some really good exchanges in that book. There's one where he's on Terra. This is right before he departs. Lehman Russ is on Terra. Sanguinius arrives to Terra finally, and there's a whole section there where Jagatai Khan, Rogel Dorn, Sanguinius, Lehman Russ, and Malkador are all together, basically, kind of getting the scoop from Sanguinius what's been going on, but at the same time trying to make plans and being who they are each individually. And it was a really good exchange, but like in that whole time, Russ is being Russ and everybody recognizes it, but at the same time they also know, like, that's, we also know that you know what you're doing. Like, we know you're smarter than what you're saying you're going to do.
Yes.
Effectively, yeah. I mean, I think some of the Primarchs might have been fooled by it, but
a lot of them knew that.
During the burning of Prospero, he sort of as far as I remember, he slipped into that role of being the barbarian king, and he sort of regretted it afterwards because he realised what he'd done.
Mm-hmm.
He realised he'd been given false intel at that point.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that was unfortunate. And he really, I think he still regrets it. Although there again, going back to that book, Wolfsbane, there's a line in there where he's like, I regret it, but I would do it again. Like, Magnus crossed a line, and I would punish him. Like, at the end of the day, when I fought him, he drew on ruinous powers, and there's only one punishment for that. Like, and looking back on it, I got fooled and I got suckered, and I hate myself for it, but I also do not regret the punishment that I eked out.
I like Lehman as a character a lot. I know a lot of people like try to shit on him because, well, a lot of people don't like Space Wolves because everyone just goes, haha, the Data Wolves guys. But
you
I like
Wolves or you don't. You know, my first real experience with Space Wolf players, not in Legions, but just in the Games Workshop. I remember it was when the Eye of Terror campaign was being announced. This was a summer codex. This is like, I think, right before 4th edition was out. And the 13th Company was included. They did this Eye of Terror codex, so that was kind of like a supplemental codex, which would allow you to build an army for Lost in the Damned, which is basically like Chaos, Imperial Guard, Ulthway, Craft World Ulthway, the 13th Legion, and I think there was one other faction that was supposed to be in that. I can't recall off the top of my head. But it was like a storytelling campaign, and obviously, as we've gone on, that has been kind of retconned, the events that took place in the Eye of Terror in the 13th Black Crusade. But in that story, the 13th Company were coming back, and that's when we saw Wolfen models for the first time. These were, the 13th Company who disappeared on Prospero, and they were in the warp for 10,000 years. They've come back, and they're transformed. They've got the Curse of the Wolfen, and they're ferocious, and you can have a whole army of these guys on the tabletop. And it was at a games day, and they were doing the previews of the models. There was going to be new Cadian models. This is when they released the Cadian plastics at that time. People were really excited. And then they showed the Space Wolves. And, like, from different parts of the crowd, there was a bunch of different, like, howls from all the Space Wolf fans. It was comical, but at the same time, it was like, man, some people really, really get into the wolf thing.
People love the Space Wolves. I don't blame them. Space Wolves are pretty cool.
They are.
I've got to admit, I've liked the wolves myself since I was quite young.
Yeah, they're cool animals. That's one of the reasons why I like Space Wolves. Like, I like wolves. Wearing a wolf pelt looks pretty cool.
Yeah, do you like them as the, like, over-the-top wolfness that they are currently, or do you prefer the past iterations?
I like the Vikings more than we talk about wolves 24/7, and we hang out our wolf fortress led by our wolf lords.
And we drink our wolf beer.
And we ride our thunder wolves in the battle.
Look,
our wolf mured.
Yeah, the wolf sleigh and the wolf mounts are too much for me. Like, I that's too much for me.
Yeah,
that's a bit too much.
I agree. I would love to see them revert back to their. Okay, we all know Games Workshop is moving towards the angle of bringing back the Primarchs. I hope Lehman just steps out of wherever he's been going and goes, what the fuck happened while I left?
There are no wolves on Fenris, guys. Come on. How many times I gotta say
they wanted to prove Magnus so wrong, they turned everything into a wolf on Fenris.
Games Workshop goes one step further. They're like, okay, we've got a new Thunderhawk. It's actually just a flying wolf. And, like, the Space Wolves cling to the fur on its side, and they jump off. That's the new model. It's just like a flying wolf.
I know you're fucking with us, Scuff, but I wouldn't unsee them riding a really big wolf in the back.
I'm already thinking about it in my head. Like, I've already imagined what this would look like. It would be daunting and scary, and at the same time...
So what we just learned, is Scuff is on their design team, so that's going to be a thing.
Dear Matt Ward, I have a
gosh, Matt Ward.
No, Matt Ward will ignore it because it doesn't begin with Ultramarines are the best Legion /chapter. Now,
I have a way to make the Ultramarines look like the most coolest faction in the galaxy.
By ruining the Space Wolves.
First off, let's get rid of these Space Wolves.
Yeah, no,
this is a long time.
Just Matt Ward's ridiculous.
He was giving a daunting task of now write the codex for everyone after being told just to make the Ultramarine one. And we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
Oh man, Space Wolves.
Actually, looking forward. I don't think Lehman Russ will be. I think he'll be like one of the last Primarchs to return.
Do you think so?
I think the last one to return will probably be like Dorn, because Dorn is essentially dead. He's missing an arm at least.
No, disagree. Hard disagree.
We'll see.
I'll tell you who I think. Honestly, I think Jagatai Khan would be the last to return.
Khan's too fast for that.
Yeah, we've got an idea. Yeah, we've got an idea where he is, but at the same time, like even in, like he's always kind of done his own thing. Like he'll show up when he wants to show up, and I don't think there's an urgency for him to show up, even though he's, he might want to get out of Jakari or the.
Wherever he went.
I don't know if he's actually in Kimura, but I mean wherever
there's always a joke that he's in Kimura, but no one actually knows where he
Nobody
went.
knows where he is.
Just like Lehman.
Right.
People are like, oh, Lehman just jumped into the warp. We don't know that. No. He kind of just said, I'll be there for the final battle for Wolf Time, and then peaced out.
He was like Gandalf. He's like, look to the hills on the third day. Oh, okay,
and then he's going to come in on flying wolves.
Yeah, it'll be him on like a white wolf on the mountainside, rearing back. Come on, let's write this movie.
Demon Primarch Magnus is going to land on the planet. He's going to appear, and they're going to have a fight to the death. Neither of them will win, and that'll be the next Codex.
Fellowship of the End of Times.
You'll be there for the final battle for Wolf Times.
But aren't you Lehman Russ the Gray? He's like, no, I am Lehman Russ the White.
And he sucker punches Magnus.
A wolf is never late or early, okay? Everybody knows that.
They howl on time. Well, I think we've said the word wolf enough time in this podcast to get officially sponsored by anything wolf related.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's wolf out. Let's wolf down some
make a
flies.
Drinking game for every time we say wolf. We don't want to kill the listeners.
No, they'd have to go back and go back in time and get themselves hammered too early. Have some Umjad.
Russ.
Well, with the troops, or just in general, like we've talked about the warlords a little bit. We talked about Russ more than anything else, but we talked about Othar, and I think we kind of
Russ is the most dominant.
Russ is dominant. Othar is a solid second. But in terms of their support cards, what would you say are your top 3 favorite cards for the faction?
Favorite cards for the faction.
Three favorite. Are we talking tactics or troops?
Either or.
Anything.
Either or.
Anything that's not a warlord.
Okay. The Curse of Wolfen.
Yeah. People don't mention Curse of Wolfen enough. I love that card as it's just a flat buff. Berserk doesn't matter to me because it's a Space Wolf. I was going to attack with it anyways.
Yeah.
Give it on like this.
Docker Squad and Jurgen. My 3 favorite cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are pretty solid.
Or, I mean, if you're using supply lines, then supply lines, Skrin and Jurgen.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Because if you put Jurgen, if you've got supply lines and you get it, it's say the start of the game, you play it on Energy 3, you play anything on Energy 4, you play Jurgen on it, and then you play Skrin on Energy 6, and you're almost guaranteed to win the game.
Yeah, you've got a fat warded dreadnought ready to go.
And he will do damage before they won't take him out before he can do some damage. And if they can, then
that's why you have Jurgen on turn 5, Energy 5.
Are you worried about with the addition of the Agents of the Sigillite, Emshan into Skrin turn 2?
Scary. That's scary stuff.
Not really, because I only have one of them in my deck.
So if they get it before it's in your hand.
That's fair. That's fair. There's a lot more. I think you've got a lot more 3-cost troops than anything else. So I mean, if they high roll for Skrin or Gunnarsson, you might be sad boy. But otherwise, I think you've got a good chance of them just pulling a 3 health troop, 3 or 4 health troop.
Pretty much. I mean, the curve that on that deck that we were talking about has 15 3 energy cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's built towards the early.
It's built to last.
It is.
What about you, Axel? What would you say are your 3 top Space Wolf cards?
I got to give it to all troops because I pulled this combo off enough times to make the life of my enemies miserable. But it's Aldrin Hunters, Yorton Stalker Squad, and my boy Half Dan Baelai. They just have the potential, those 3 cards combined, to steamroll any game and win me early. But if it's stopped, I'm out of gas at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I definitely have fun playing Space Wolf, though. They're definitely I'm going to do some damage even if you win, I still have my fun type faction, and that's why I enjoy them.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're playing, say for example, you're playing Ultramarines or Orphans of War, if you've got your Ragwald Slayers, and you've got Baelai, if you put a Slayer out first, and then you put Baelai out second, chances are, if they've got a flanking card, they're going to look at the Slayer and go, okay, I have to get rid of that. So they've used their the flanking card, getting rid of the Slayer, and then you play Baelai.
And then you got a big, very large threat that they kind of already threw away their thing to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like baiting out big things, because I play a lot of word bearers. You may not know this, but I am the resident word bearer main here that everyone wants me to shut up about, but I won't. It's very fun to bait out like a hard removal and then dropping something like a Dark Martyr, and they can't do anything now. They've lost. Always be ready to be expected.
I know people that play it. I mean, GMAT was playing word bearers for a while there as well, and he done really well with them.
Word bearers are fun. Not enough people play them.
I
want to see more word bearers on that ladder.
They are fun. They've got a little bit of randomness with their demon host, but they've got a lot of troops that can respond or get stronger through the course of the game. And with the changes to Lorgar's Reckoning, it's a lot easier to swing.
It's actually fun to play now after they buffed the Reckoning.
Yeah, it's not a quick game, but I mean, it can swing really quick. And like you think you've got it, and it's like, no, board full of demons, and here we go.
Oh, I lowered all your troops to 2 HP, and so are mine. Destiny Hand, Reckoning.
Yeah.
That is one of the most fun things to do.
Yeah. I would say for me, for the Spacewolf support cards, or the Spacewolf cards in general, I like Emperor's Executioners. I know it doesn't do much. It's not flashy, but it can end games. It can take out threats. It's just...
what gets the job done.
Yeah, I like that. I think the Jortan Stalker Squad, I think we can all agree that is just a great troop.
Enough people cry for its nerfing every single day that there must be something good about it. I don't think it needs to be nerfed.
No,
but
I don't think so
people
either.
do.
I think it just puts in work. And personally, I like Gunnarsson. I know he's a higher cost. Yeah, I know he's a higher cost troop and he's a legendary, but his effect, outside of just whether it's Russ, it's Othra, it's Bolvi, like his effect to make adjacent units have ward is so cool, and it can make like you can have a whole warded board with him, as well as all the healing that goes with him, or just having a big buy. Like he requires a very large flank or lucky random tactic of roll, essentially,
like Stellock or something.
Yeah, to get rid of him, because otherwise he's going to stick and he's going to make all of your other stuff stick. So I like Gunnarsson a lot.
Oh, Gunnarsson is definitely solid troop. I feel like you'll have the similar opinion, Lehman.
Against burn decks like Perturabo and Horus, especially against Horus burn decks, you'll see them play very, very aggressively.
Yeah.
And the second you drop Dommer Gunnarsson, they freeze. You'll literally see them freezing for quite a few seconds because they realize,
my entire tactic is built around them not doing that.
They're looking at all their cards and they're just like, I can't play any of these now. Oh,
dead cards in my hand.
And they're obviously they're trying to burn you down to 8 health, but it doesn't matter because even if you are at 8 health, they can't do Vengeful Spirit.
Yep.
And then Dunmer's is going to heal you.
Heal you up. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's not a win con, but he is just a solid card. And like I said, I think he goes in any wolf deck. I think all the cards that we said go in any wolf deck. Yeah.
I think all their legendaries really go in any wolf deck except Corpse One.
Yeah. I know Karmatos has got the meme deck to disagree with the Corpse One, but
listen, Karmatos has a meme deck to disagree with any point I make because that man lives on memes.
That's really what it comes down to. Like if you want to have a card in a deck, Karmatos will find a way to make it work for you. But realistically, Corpse One is terrible.
Oh yeah, I got that card from a free crate. Worst free crate of my life.
That's terrible. That's sad.
Actually, think about it. 3 favourite cards. Fenrisian Wolves would have to be number 1, actually.
Alright. Fenrisian Wolves is a lot of fun. It's like Vorax. It's like the Vorax one, Forge Fane, except while they may not have bloodthirsty, they're a lot more exciting. Plus, they're thematically appropriate. They're his boys.
It is nice bringing out the wolves. Bringing out the wolves.
Release the wolves.
Although, with these guys with the wolves, it's like trying to remember which one it is now. Let me see.
Reki and Greya?
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun.
Right, where are the gold cards?
One of them stuns, which is always nice, and the other will gain more attack based on damage. Is it units or troops?
It's damaged units, I believe.
Okay, so he's going to come out with some decent attack. So you can use one to hold the threat in place, and the other to delete the troops, which is always nice. And theoretically, give Lehman 2 more hits.
Will stun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Reki the Swift
Will
do damage,
yeah.
which is
Overall,
always very useful against Canis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
James can get hurt from that thing. Holy.
I like how they're wolves, but they look like they're like lion panther wolves. Like they're
it's because of the way the Wolves of Fenris work.
There are no wolves.
There's
of Fenris, man.
There's a high chance they used to be human at one point. It's further down their genetic line.
Our infantry.
They are.
They count as infantry.
Yeah, they count
that
as
makes
infantry.
sense.
Well, just
Well,
like
then
the
again,
beast of Pythos and the.
Yeah, I was about to say Monster of Pythos is an infantry.
If it's if it's not a demon or a vehicle or a custodes, then it's infantry.
Yep.
If you play the Skatari Exiarch, they will gain the buff.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think of that.
Yep.
Huh. There's a lot of good troops that are infantry. I'm very happy Sis with the Silence all came out as infantry, which means a lot of fun mechanendrite things can be done.
I think that's very thematic, and I think we're going to have a lot more infantry options. Well, and I think too, with the wolves in general, like they're definitely. I don't want to say that they're overdue for a buff. I don't think that they need a huge buff. I do think there are a few cards that they've got that just don't see play because the game pacing and power creep has kind of moved past them. But they weren't cards that got played a lot anyways. But I do think in general the whole Prospero expansion, the Custodes, the Thousand Sons, and the Wolves deserve some facelift. Some facelift, even if it's just 5 or 6 cards.
Yeah, because I would love to see the day where people could play Corpse Swan and not be laughed at.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's mainly me laughing, but still.
I mean, if you could get Corpse Swan out with maybe supply lines.
Gunmer. Even if you drop it beside Gunmer.
Yeah, if you had to pick one card in Space, just one, we'll do the one. Would Corpse Swan be the card for you to see improved?
Yeah,
no,
definitely for me.
No.
Which would it be?
No.
Wolfguard, the Wolfguard squad. I would change it to Energy 5 and reduce its stats.
Is that, and you're talking about the 7/7 heal your warlord with pack?
No.
There's 2 wolf cards, I think.
Hornless Wolfguard.
Oh, that energy. One. The heal itself?
No. I would change it so that it costs maybe 5 energy.
And lower its stats
accordingly. More attack. Give it the base stats of Jurgen.
Okay.
Maybe give it ward, and that would be perfect.
Yeah, now I know which wolf guard you're talking about, because he has 2 wolf guards in this faction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The one doesn't even have frontline, which is always weird to me. Calling him making him a guard and a protector, yet he doesn't do that.
But every time your warlord attacks, it gets 1 health back. Couple that with Lehman, and you're in for a very good day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice to see him change.
That's the only card I would change.
I would like to see, Corpse One at 10 energy is way too high for what it does. I mean, let's be real here. That ability is very good. It's just at that point, if you haven't already won, there's probably something better you could play than letting him sit a turn and then probably get harder removals.
Mm-hmm.
Corpse
One is a joke.
I have to say, I'm gonna go with Giger Fellhand.
Giger?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I still think he needs a pack ability or something to synergize with his Legion.
I'm not a fan, in general, I'm not a fan of warlords who have Berserk, and there's only a small pool of them. His ability has potential, but within the faction, mid to late game, it can be problematic because if you want to put down some solid cards, you got to be willing to slam into a solid card with him. If he had a pack ability that upped his attack even, like just upped his attack, and then he still had the ability to fire off, or he had a siege prep or something, or he just lost Berserk in general, I'd be fine with it. I don't know. That's me. For me, that's the one I'd like to see changed. Bulvi is where he is. I mean, he serves a purpose, but I think Giger is really... He's the one I would want to change.
Yeah, Giger, I'd have to say, is the most outdated of them. Volvi got nerfed. That's the only reason he's the way he is. Giger just they kind of killed him before he even had a chance to live, if that makes sense.
Well, he was really doing well for him because Russ wasn't Russ. It was Russ before there was Russ, and then once Russ became Russ, it was like, who is this Giger guy? Let's get out of here. Let's go play Russ.
It's a sad day for the Fellhand.
It was. I think we kind of covered a good chunk of the Space Wolves, kind of Warlords talk, a little bit of lore talk, a little bit of talking.
Cards. I think the only card we really didn't mention of all their legendaries is Dionysian Spear.
Yeah.
But, that's just the flat, you have more damage now. Also, if anything hits you or you hit anything, it's going to regret it as it's now stunned.
I'll say this, Dionysian Spear in the mirror match is brutal. For me. Yeah.
God damn it. Every time I play it, they remember Man's Order it.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. That's the one downside. That's it's the mirror. Oh, they've got the spear too, or they got
It's happened enough times where I've saved my counterattack to use afterwards, just to say no. You don't get it.
90% of the time, you don't want to be healing yourself with that counterattack.
No, that's going
to be don't. But I will save it if I have Dionysian Spear, and I feel like they're going to remember Master Order because it got in enough times in a day where it happened 4 matches in a row where I just said no. No, this is not how we're playing today.
Not today.
I'm here to have fun, not suffer.
No. Outside of when you're not playing Legions, Russ, what do you do?
Well...
Philosophical question.
Well, if I'm not reading books, exercise. And play with my daughter.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
And I live in a part of Scotland that I'm not originally from, so I can still go and be a tourist when I want to be.
I've never been to Scotland, so I don't know how big it is. I mean, is where you're at? I mean, is it much more like country, like rural, or is it like town?
It's about 15 miles from Edinburgh.
Okay,
but it's a small little town.
Okay.
Its most famous person would be Adam Smith.
I think I've heard the name.
Have any of you played have you ever played Civilization?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that one of the, I think it's an achievement or something that's unlocked where it's somebody's wrote the Wealth of Nations book?
Yeah.
That's Adam Smith.
Oh, okay. I know you're
he's basically the person that, the political and economic system that most Western countries use today is based off of his book.
Oh, okay.
They call him the father of capitalism.
Ah.
Well, that's like a
pretty important person.
It's an important person, but when you think about that's kind of I don't know, that's like a weird thing to be remembered for. It's a very important, influential thing, but at the same time, it's not there's no battles fought there. There's no treaties or legendary documents, but at the same time, it's really a different centuries later form of philosophy, right? I mean, you got Socrates and the Greek philosophers, which came thousands of years before, when we start talking about this is how commerce should work. This is how, it still is kind of philosophy. It's just a different intent as opposed to the self-awareness and asking yourself the questions of how you relate to the world. It's really how should we make the world work efficiently?
I have no idea. That's a question.
I couldn't answer that question. No, I can tell you.
You got Virus on. Yeah. Virus, he's a very well-educated man. He could probably answer this better than all of us.
I would say don't fall in communism.
Is that the ending note of the podcast? Not exactly ending, but the last important message is don't become a communist.
Don't become a communist. Here's the thing: I don't think you can fund communism because, from what I understand, it's all communism. There's no fund. It just goes to everybody, right?
It's weird to think that we know some people who lived through a communist country's regime.
It is interesting. We talked with Duke last week, and he's in Hong Kong.
He's in China.
He's in China. That's right.
He's in mainland China, and it's not really communist anymore. But Herr Flick, you might have talked to him. He's Croatian.
Yeah,
I speak to him on a regular basis.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he's lived through Croatia during its communist period. Fun guy to talk to if you ever want to talk to you about that.
Interesting times, yeah. Well, in the Western side of things, obviously, I don't know if it's in terms of distance and proximity. Scotland being much closer to Europe and Eastern Europe. And even though
Scotland's closer than Europe and America, I never would have thought of that.
What? What? I grew up during the whole Cold War and the fall of
the big wall.
The big wall, the Berlin Wall. I mean, I remember New Year's Eve, that being a big thing. And I stayed up for that, and it was like the first time I ever stayed up midnight. And we had a family friend who was German, and she was in the States, and it was a big deal at her house, and it was a big thing. I just didn't understand how big it was until much later, because even though it was always like, the Russians or the communists, it didn't really affect our way of life in the States. It wasn't like you saw, like the only thing you saw was like, I guess that's why we do certain things, but you didn't have neighbors or people that you might run into at work or anything like that who were, who had to deal with it. If anything, you had relatives who were in the armed forces who would be stationed in West Germany, who might come back with stories. I had an aunt who was in the army, and she spent a couple years over there, but that was kind of it. So to then later on, as an adult, have interactions with people who actually experienced it from a much closer side, were actually there, that's interesting. It's really interesting to see. And this is one of those communities where we've got people all over the world that help you expose us to that. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, the community is diverse across many nations. It's neat. Hell, we got 3 different countries on the podcast right now, which is always nice.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we got Axel's in Canada, so he is not American.
Still on your continent, but
okay.
North American.
So what you're saying is we have a good, loyal Canadian and a filthy colonial.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, I'm French Canadian, so I'm not exactly loved.
I'm Scottish. Come on.
We both know how it feels to live under a country that keeps owning us.
The French and the Scottish have always had good relations, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got Newfoundland that was basically colonized by the Scottish over here.
Then Nova Scotia.
I was going to say Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia was a bit of the French. Newfoundland was primarily all of them, and you guys have a horrible accent over there now.
Now, which part of Canada is it again, where all of the British supporters left the United States to go for?
Probably. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the exact part. I know it's on the western side. Yeah, so I'm just going to blame Ontario.
Okay, yeah, because I remember that learning that in high school. I was like, wait a minute. So during the Revolutionary War, there was when the America won its independence, there was a bunch of people who were like, no, we still like Britain. We're going to go to Canada. Even back then, people were like, well, then I'll just move to Canada. That's what I'll do. And they did.
Exactly.
And they're still.
Hey, it works.
I just thought it was funny. They're out there.
And we had the same happen when the British kicked out the French, and that's why you guys have Cajuns. Cajuns were the French that got kicked out.
I know that.
I like Cajun cooking.
That's fair. Saying that, Lumen.
I mean, I know that Nova Scotia basically translates to New Scotland.
Yes.
That's it? I did not know that, and that's amazing.
That is true.
Oh, Scotia is one of Scotland's names.
Oh, really? See, I wish I knew more than I did, but that's a neat fact to learn.
You learn something every day, even if it's not Legions related. Even if it's not wolf themed today on today's episode, you've learned something, I hope.
All I know is that the Newfoundland troops that they sent over during World War I wore kilts on the battlefield. So that's a neat fact about Newfoundland. They wore kilt more than Lehman Rusty ever did. Therefore, they are more Scottish.
I do wear kilts, just not very often.
It's a formal thing, right?
To be honest, a kilt looks comfy enough where I just wear it around the house. That looks comfy.
I don't know.
I generally just wear a pair of red shorts.
Is that like the fake kilt? It's like, it's like the poor man's tuxedo.
Kilt. Exactly. If it looks similar, it works.
I'm literally just lazy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, aren't we all?
Well, regardless of where you are in the world, appreciate you joining us to talk about the wolves and space wolves and agents of the Sigillite.
It's always good to get a, well, at this point, I would like to say the most hardcore Spacewolf fan in here.
Yeah, if this is, just not necessarily a challenge, but out to anybody listening.
I was about to say, this is a challenge. If you can prove to me you've played more Lehman Russ games than this man.
Yeah, if you've played 12,000 Lehman Russ games and you want to claim yourself superior to the Lehman Russ 80, let me know. Send us a PM.
Well, we'll set you up a public fight between the two of you.
You will
in
duke
Scotland
it out to
itself.
the death.
You'll go to Glasgow, where I think that's legal.
I was going to say, I would say that Manny Piana is probably the best Lehman Russ player on the game.
You can be the best, but the commitment you poured your soul into Lehman Russ, and I think that matters too.
And Kiva is also, I would say, is probably second best.
I'm happy there's some people who committed their lives to Lehman Russ.
And then maybe me.
You should be in the running. You're in top 3. Let's take it that. Just take that.
Yeah.
You pour yourself some Umjad, and
yeah.
It's Miod. I'm purposefully mispronouncing it.
No, it's the fact that that's what the voice actor pronounced it as.
I know that Dornstash is going to hear this someday. He's going to roll his eyes at it, so that's why I'm saying it.
Don't worry. He already rolls his eyes every time I say Erebus instead of Erebus.
Well, thank you for joining us, Russ. Is there anything we talked about plugging? You want to plug what you're working on and what you do and your channel and whatnot?
Well, I haven't. Well, since I was quitting smoking, I wasn't making videos because I was a very happy person. But I will be making videos again as of next week.
Nice.
If you want to put the link in the description, I will send it to you in chat right now, actually, before I go to bed, because it's 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's quite late.
Early?
See, there's 2 types of people in this world. The one who calls that late and the other who calls that early.
Yeah. It's almost bedtime.
Yeah.
It's a weekend for me. I've earned my staying up late.
But I will be making videos again every Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, that's nice. Nice little release schedule you got going.
I'm going to start making lore videos, but I have to figure out why my editing software isn't working.
What do you use for editing?
I was using After Effects.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
But I heard Son was quite good as well, so I'm probably going to switch. And then I will start doing lore videos again.
That could be fun.
Very nice.
40K is some fun lore. It really takes a lot to get into, but once you do, it's quite.
Well, I was thinking there's a lot of 40K lore people out there anyway, so what I was thinking of doing is just basing it around Horus Heresy, Legions.
Yeah. A nice 30K guy.
Yeah, there needs to be more 30K dedicated lore.
Yeah, there needs to be more 30K dedicated stuff, because there really isn't much. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Space Marines really are my forte when it comes to 40K, so they're what I know the most about. So I like to learn more about the 30K stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, when their numbers used to be so high, like hundreds of thousands of Marines fighting, it's always cool to me. We dropped 1,000 on a planet and they slaughtered everyone. Usually it's only 100.
I like the fact with Warhammer 40,000 and Horus Heresy, there's 2 of them. They both have their differences. There's the Heresy, where it's kind of the beginning of the end, and then there's the 41st millennium, which is much, much more grimdark. But I like the fact
drawing of the end. I
like how they work in terms of prequel versus mainstay. Whereas Star Wars, Rebellion era is my favorite. Clone Wars stuff, not so much. It just doesn't compare or hold up. And
I love Clone Wars stuff, which reminds me, Scuff, have you seen Bad Batch yet?
I have not. I've not seen Bad Batch. Are you going to plug that? Are you plugging Bad Batch?
I'm plugging Bad Batch. It is a very good show.
All right. I might have to check it out.
It is a continuation of the Clone War animated show, in case you've seen that.
I've watched all of the Clone Wars, and I have not seen Rebels. I've heard
Rebels isn't good.
I've heard that. I've heard that it's it's okay, but you're not missing anything if you don't watch it.
You're not missing anything if you don't watch it. Scuff, at the end of the day, it will just make you sad.
Okay.
Don't do this to yourself.
All right. Now, I did watch The Mandalorian, and
which is very good.
I don't think, that shouldn't be disputed at this point. If you haven't seen The Mandalorian, I'm not going to plug it, but I'm going to tell you that you have, it's a reason to get Disney Plus. What I am going to plug,
unless you're like me and you can find it somewhere else.
I am going to plug deck slots, guys, because I did the math, and we're going to get 4th Warlords here in about 2 weeks. or at least start getting 4th Warlords. And with the Agents of the Sigillite, we actually are under deck slotted, and we're going to need another 4 slots for those deck slots for those 4th Warlords. So we need like 2 more rows of deck slots pronto. So that's what I'm plugging. But I'm also going to plug, just in general, the community, the Warhammer Horus Heresy Discord community. Now that we've got 3 new factions out going on, obviously there's going to be events, there's going to be ladders, games, there's going to be practice games, but there's also ongoing weekly tournaments. I know we mentioned those, I think, on our 3rd or 4th episode.
We have had some tournament organizers.
Yeah, the tournament scene is still going on, and it's actually a great time to get into the tournament to either play for new cards or to play new people who might be trying out new things. I think every week there's new faces added. There's some old mainstays, and we've got several different formats for the tournament. So if you want to find out more about it, check out the tournament section on the Discord, the community. Every week at different times, they try to set them up and schedule them for different dates and times. Lehman Russ, did you play any tournaments recently?
They keep trying to get me going to tournaments, and I keep forgetting.
Okay, because I keep seeing you mentioned in the tournament channel, but I'm not sure if you've actually played. You got to get in there.
Well, Dorn Stash invited me, and I just went, "Yeah, I'm drunk. I'll join." But I've never done a tournament in my life.
They're fun.
They're fun.
Sometimes you get pretty far. Sometimes you get up against Doles at the very beginning, and he kicks your ass. But either way, Doles is a good buddy.
Yeah. Well, we've also got Bar Night Legions will take place next week. So we're actually, by the time you're listening to this, it takes place in 2 days. And those are always fun. That's always fun. B tier casual format, just a standard, nothing on the meta report. We're all playing for fun. There's no gold or prizes. It's just having a good time, playing fun cards. And I think last time on typical we've got 8 to 10 players, which is a good turnout.
Yeah, I thought last time I wasn't able to make it, but I saw that you didn't have a lot of people signed up. But then the night of, a bunch of people pulled up. So that's always nice.
Yeah, which was nice because it's looking like it was going to be a small party. But then once we were like, "Hey, it's on tonight," like people hopped on.
Everyone went, "Oh, it's tonight," and they made their decks. Well, I'm looking at my schedule. I'll be able to make this.
Yeah, it should be fun. So that's what we've got going on here. That's what I have got to plug. You guys got anything else?
No. You keep saying names, and I speak to them on voice chat on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. Well, we usually talk to those people, too. The community is big, but also small enough where everyone knows each other, which is nice.
Oh, and I know this will be late, but happy birthday, Juan.
Oh, yeah, Juan.
It's his birthday today. So.
Oh, it is.
We were laughing at him about his age the other night, because he was in the under 19 crew.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I thought he was above 21.
No,
yep.
Well,
he's with me and Mort at the exact same age. Now he is.
Okay, so is he illegal to drink?
He is in the state. Wait, is the state's 21? The state's 21.
It's 21 in the states.
This is lame.
Is it legal?
And around here it is.
Okay, well, if I can condone it. If it's not, but otherwise, I don't know if he has. I mean, I know he's played on Barnet Legions.
Oh, he definitely has, but that's unrelated.
Look, I mean, hey, if you're in college, if you're in high school senior, you should be having a good time. But
my opinion is, if you can access it, you should have a good time.
Well, look, I'll tell you a story someday about my first time. It was enough to make me not want to do it for a while.
Poor stuff.
Good times.
My first time involved a wheelbarrow and someone who thought he was a gangster.
That's an interesting story. I'm gonna have to hear the end of one of these days.
My first time involved some grasshoppers and and a lawn chair. All right,
Axel. With a blur. Then again, I drank for the first time at a very young age, so
you're like, I don't remember much, but there was Sesame Street.
Okay, not that young. Jesus. Oh man, that would be a story though.
That'd be. I don't know. Today was brought to you by the letter. Story you should know. Jim Beam. Jesus.
Today was brought to you by the letter vodka. All right.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us and being on and getting on tonight. Russ, appreciate talking to you, and I'm glad you were able to make it through and stay up and chat wolf action with us. Will we look to the west and see you on the third day?
Will you be there for the
Depends on
final
my
battle
hangover.
for wolf time?
He will be there.
Depends how much I've had to drink.
Yeah. That's a fair answer.
If you do join BNL, remember one of the rules is if you're Pirate Lahi, you have to pass out drunk during this tournament.
During
Or else it just doesn't count.
During the tournament, like deep into like the fifth round, like just take a break, but
Pass
don't
out
ever
drunk.
come back. All right, guys.
Oh, poor pirate.
Well, have a good night. We'll talk to you later, Russ, and everybody. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Good night.
Have a good one, folks.
The sunlight dims.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Eternal loyalty! Burn it! Burn it all! Well executed!